And finally, new rule, now that the campus protesters are finally packing up their tents and delousing their hair, it's time for the media to admit that they blew the whole thing way out of proportion. Because as always with media these days, they don't cover what's most important, just what's most fun to watch.
You won't believe what just happened on live TV. Bill Maher, the comedy and satire genius known for his sharp wordplay, just exposed the hidden agenda of the news outlets and uncovered how the media manipulates information and says things that are actually not true. Bill Maher is known for his outspoken and provocative personality, often challenging conventional media narratives. As a comedian and political commentator, he uses satire and sharp wordplay to expose perceived hypocrisies and biases in mainstream media. Maher blends humor with serious critique, aiming to provoke thought and discussion among his audience. While his approach can be polarizing, it reflects his commitment to free speech and skepticism of media practices. Maher's style encourages viewers to question the information they consume, highlighting the importance of critical thinking in an age of pervasive media influence. Maher starts by addressing the latest issue of student protests across the country.
I have one piece of advice for the youth of America. Don't go to college. And if you absolutely have to go, don't go to an elite college, because as recent events have shown, it just makes you stupid.
He mocks the notion that their actions are not violent, comparing it to the aggressive behavior displayed after their favorite teams win any championship. His humorous take on serious issues often helps to shed light on the absurdity of certain media portrayals, making complex topics more accessible to a broader audience. Maher's ability to blend comedy with serious commentary allows him to tackle sensitive subjects in a way that is both engaging and thought-provoking. Bill also applauds the students for raising their voices. Nowadays, fake news is becoming more common. In fact, it would not be wrong to say that fake news spreads more rapidly compared to real news. This might be due to the element of sensation present in fake news, which is sometimes missing from factual news. Bill proposes some rules of thumb from his experience to identify and avoid fake news. Now take a second and think about the psychological appeal of fake news, how it often plays into existing biases and emotions, making it more likely to be shared and believed. We need to discuss media literacy and critical thinking skills more often in order to combat the spread of misinformation. By educating the audience on these principles, Maher aims to empower viewers to become more discerning consumers of news and less susceptible to manipulation. Bill begins by emphasizing the importance of scrutinizing sensational headlines. If a news outlet frequently uses emphatic words such as shreds, destroys, pummels, and bashes, it signals a potential red flag regarding the outlet's credibility. Such language indicates an attempt to create sensationalism and capture the audience's attention rather than providing balanced reporting. Bill further elaborates, humorously suggesting that if your headlines resemble those words, you might as well be reading a comic book instead of serious news. In his critique, Bill argues that news channels should serve as reliable sources of information. They should avoid using dramatic and exaggerated terms like obliterates, roasts, annihilates, and owns. A bunch of jokers or a random guy from YouTube might use them to roast someone, but such words don't suit an authentic news organization or a reputed journalist. The use of such language undermines the seriousness and objectivity expected from professional news organizations. What this sensational language does is exploit emotional responses, making fake news more likely to be shared and believed. This can be avoided by cross-checking information from multiple credible sources. These highlights are the need for critical evaluation of news sources and headlines. Sensational language should be a cue for readers to question the reliability of the information and to prioritize news outlets that maintain objectivity and integrity in their reporting. Most fake news headlines start with statements indicating their source. These sources are often mentioned very vaguely. If you come across a headline that starts with "the internet says" or "Twitter says," it means you are likely looking at fake news. Nowadays, many people scrolling through X, formerly Twitter, read a bunch of tweets and simply summarize them starting with "Twitter says." People think that starting their news with "the internet says" or "Twitter says" makes it more credible, but it doesn't. Well, folks, to be honest, most of us often believe such news to be true, and later on, after some time or maybe a couple of days, we realize that it was fake news. We often come across news of some celebrity's death, especially if they were seriously ill or faced a life-threatening disease. But after some time, it became clear that it was just fake news. It even happened a couple of times with me, and later on, I saw videos of the person himself claiming that he is still alive. Write down in the comments section and let me know if it also happened to you. The third point discussed by Bill is very important. If your preferred news outlet, which you watch often, brings everything happening in the world back to who the President of America is, you need to get rid of it immediately. I mean, this is ridiculous. If this happens, just to let you know, that channel is either in the Democrat team or the Republican team. To be honest, who was the first person to give them the idea that everything is linked with the president? News should be about providing unbiased information on global events, not constantly linking everything to the US president. When a news outlet does this, it indicates a strong political bias, which undermines the credibility of the reporting. It's essential to recognize this pattern and seek out news sources that offer a broader, more balanced perspective on world events. Being aware of this tactic can help you avoid being influenced by politically driven narratives and ensure you receive more accurate and impartial news coverage. News organizations have their own principle that says, narrative first, whole story never. And the fourth point is something no one wants you to know, but Bill does. Nowadays, the media is more inclined towards making money rather than providing accurate information. There is always a specific agenda associated with every news channel. On Fox News, most of the time you hear about how great Trump and his policies are. Every day on Fox News, a story features an innocent white lady killed by a Venezuelan immigrant. News Nation reported that this year the US was on track for a nearly 300% increase in measles cases. This is how they influence and manipulate your minds. Now tell me, upon hearing a 300% increase, what was your first reaction? Obviously 300% makes everyone think that the cases will be in the millions, but that's not the case. There were only 35. Not 3,500 or 35,000, just 35. They just want you to click on their story so they can get another view. This is a common tactic used by media outlets to grab attention and create a sense of urgency or panic. By exaggerating the numbers or presenting information in a misleading way, they ensure that their audience stays engaged and continues to watch or read their content. It's important to be aware of these tactics and to critically evaluate the information presented by news channels. The next point, which is the fifth, is to never fully trust the initial reports you come across. Initial reports can be misleading or incomplete, as they often provide only a partial view of the situation. To get the most reliable news, it's important to wait for further developments in the story. Media outlets are frequently eager to be the first to report on breaking news, and they might start their reports with statements like, "As always, our channel is the first to reach the scene and report blah blah blah." However, many of the details can change as more information becomes available. Reporting first does not necessarily equate to reporting accurately. Media outlets often do not prioritize the truth because they know that many people do not care about it either. Instead, they focus on presenting information that they believe will attract and satisfy their audience. Most of us prefer to hear news that aligns with our own opinions and beliefs. We tend to listen to news channels and sources that tell us what we want to hear, rather than seeking out balanced and objective reports. This selective listening can create a situation where we are only exposed to viewpoints that reinforce our existing ideas. As a result, media organizations can exploit this tendency by shaping their stories to match the preferences of their audience. This means that the news we receive might be skewed or incomplete, as it is designed to cater to what we like to hear. Understanding this can help us be more critical of the news we consume and encourage us to seek out a wider range of perspectives. By doing so, we can work towards a more accurate and well-rounded understanding of the world around us, rather than simply accepting information that confirms our own biases. You are making a video about foul plays and Trump is not discussed in the video. How could this happen? I don't believe it. Bill discusses how people come up to him with their concerns about what will happen if Trump wins. They don't even need to say his name because everyone knows he's referring to Trump. Bill is also worried about the possibility of Trump winning and has no idea how to prevent it. The only thing he says is that life might go on if Trump wins, although he is unsure about the conditions or circumstances we might face, or he could blow up the whole world on the day he becomes president. At the end of this, Bill concludes with a powerful message. Anyone who wants to live a life full of beautiful memories should listen to his message carefully. He said, "Until Trump is no longer a factor, I'm going to live my life, not the life that the media wants or pushes me to live by hating half of the country." This is a meaningful message for all of us to consider. Did you like this video? Subscribe to the channel now so that you don't miss our upcoming videos.